Okay, my name is David Hayes, H-A-Y-E-S. I'm the Chief of Police of the Alton, Illinois Police Department. This afternoon, I think most of you are already aware of the events that occurred yesterday. And first and foremost, we want to extend our deepest condolences to the Hicks family for their terrible loss. I don't know what more I can say to convey the regret of the entire incident. I heard from St. Louis County Police today about 12:30. They were able to first give me some details on the preliminary finding of their investigation, which included the preliminary investigation from the St. Louis City Medical Examiner's Office. Dr. Mary Case was the medical examiner in this case, and she, along with the St. Louis County Police, have made a preliminary finding that this is a suicide case. Now, suicide, although tragic, is sometimes things that we can't predict or can't prevent. Sadly, we encountered Stephanie Hicks yesterday when she was attempting to walk across the bridge to Christian Hospital when we received a call about that. 100 degrees outside, the officers encountered her and convinced her to come across the bridge and talk to us so that we may be able to help her get to where she needs to go. She was adamant about going to St. Louis, and so in light of allowing her to walk 9.5 miles, our officer asked for permission for him to provide her courtesy transportation to Christian Hospital, which is something that we don't normally do. But in the circumstances, she was granted permission, or the officer was granted permission to transport her over to Christian Hospital, and she was given that courtesy transportation. This was not a custodial situation. She was not in custody. She was not deemed to be a threat to herself or her surroundings. So she was allowed, at her request, to sit up front in the air conditioning of the police car and not in the back, where obviously in the partition in the back of the police car there's no air conditioning, and when it's 100 degrees outside it's usually 15 degrees warmer in the back seat of that car. She wanted to ride in the front. The officer granted her that, and for some reason that we'll probably never know, only God will, she decided to disarm the officer by surprising him. It was an unexpected move by her. The officer didn't perceive her as a threat. She's a 5'1", 100-pound girl, and nobody in their right mind would perceive a person like that to be a threat. Again, this was all meant to be a courtesy transportation for her that we did as a public service, not as any obligation that we had by law. We wanted to see that she got to where she needed to be without any further complications, and that is what we attempted to do when this tragedy occurred. Now, the details of how she successfully disarmed that officer, those details are still in the hands of the interviews that are in the possession of St. Louis County Police. I have talked to my officer. He was in the interview down in Clayton yesterday most of the day, and I was not able to speak to him until yesterday afternoon after he got back. He has been debriefed. We have a crisis team of our own that's been here to deal with the fallout from the emotional stress that he and other officers that are involved in this. But that emotional stress can't even compare to what the family is going through, I'm sure. The details on the criminal investigation, which is what this is for the St. Louis County Police. It's a criminal investigation to determine exactly what happened. That criminal investigation will be put in front of a prosecutor in St. Louis County, I suspect, and that will be reviewed by their office over there to make sure that there was no criminal conduct involved in this case. After that, the internal affairs investigation here will launch, and we will determine in that investigation if all policies and procedures of the police department were followed, and if and when that case is finished and whatever the determination is, I will take the appropriate action at that time. I'm not suggesting that the officer had committed any misconduct. Just for the record, he was not under any obligation by policy to put her in the back seat of the police car. This was a courtesy transportation, much like we provide courtesy transportation to people to cooling centers and things when there's extreme heat outside. So The extent to why she acted like she did, I say God only knows the truth in that. But it is a tragedy. It has been ruled preliminarily a suicide, and the final part of the investigation will be complete from St. Louis County Police when they present this to the prosecutor's office for review. Now, I'll take a few questions if you have them.
And who gave the officer permission to give her this courtesy ride? Was it you?
No, obviously this was 4th of July. As a legal holiday, the watch commander, who was at headquarters here, was contacted by the officer by telephone and asked if he could provide courtesy transportation to her, and he was granted that permission.
Who called you to begin with that she was walking across the bridge?
There was an associate of hers who, I don't really know how to characterize him other than he called and reported that she was walking to a St. Louis hospital, and he was concerned, obviously, that a 9.5-mile walk was something that he was concerned about.
Was she alone on the bridge? Or
the person that called us was slightly behind her. I think it's fair to characterize that there was some sort of a verbal domestic issue going on between the two of them. He called because he did not want her to walk to the hospital, and that's what caused us to respond. Yes, ma'am.
Is it normal practice to let someone ride in the front seat under these circumstances, or is this just an odd case of that?
Well, I would answer that by saying that if this is a courtesy transportation, I want to place emphasis on the fact this was not a custodial situation. The security of a police car, the prisoner section of a car, is to put prisoners and people that are secured because of reasons that are either they're a danger to the officer or a danger to themselves or somebody else. This was not the case. The officer did not deem her to be a threat to himself or her. For the record, she was medically cleared before he transported her. There was EMS people that were summoned to make sure that she was okay. They said she was not a transportable case, meaning that it was not a hospitalization case, so she was free to go.
Was his gun unlocked?
His gun was in his holster, as far as I know, secured. The snap on his holster could have been simultaneously unsnapped and removed. We don't know those answers at this point. Those are part of the biggest questions that I have as far as policy and procedures. And those questions, I hope, will be answered when the St. Louis County turns over their final report.
But as an officer, if it's holstered, you consider that safe? It
Yes,
doesn't have a safety on it, right?
We carry Glock handguns. When they're removed from the holster, there is no external safety on them. You pull the trigger, the gun discharges. It's that simple, and that's by design.
And the holster's on the right hip, so it was facing her.
Yes, he's a right-handed officer, and his sidearm was affixed to his right side.
Did she say anything?
The entire ride over to the hospital, she never said a word.
Is there any kind of in-car camera or anything in your vehicles?
Yes, we do have in-car cameras in our police cars, and they are activated when the red lights are triggered, or there's an 80-mile-an-hour speed cap, or they're manually turned on. When the encounter happened inside the car, he immediately turned on his red lights, and the events that took place immediately after the shooting were recorded inside the car.
But the events themselves were not. There was a scuffle of some sort, and then he flipped the lights. Is that correct?
To be clear on that, because that's a good question, one that anybody would want to know. The cameras in the police cars have two cameras. They have one camera that faces forward out the front windshield of the car. The other camera is a fisheye camera that takes in the entire back seat of the car. No camera records the video part of the passenger or the driver's compartment of the cabin of the vehicle. However, we have in-car audio monitors that capture all of the radio traffic and all of the events immediately after the incident occurred. So a lot of the sequence of events are on audio tape for us.
Was your officer familiar with Ms. Hicks? Had he run across her before?
No.
Her family, were there others in the department who were familiar with her?
Yes. We have had other officers that have had encounters with her in the past, but the officer that transported her had not had prior contacts with her. He was not familiar with her.
What kind of encounters?
I don't want to get into HIPAA violations, so I'll just say that we've had a few encounters with her in the past and leave it at that.
Is this officer certified, crisis intervention team certified?
He is not.
Not.
This was not a crisis intervention encounter for us. It was initially reported as being a crisis intervention because when I first talked to the news media, I was under the impression that she was out there on the bridge for a purpose other than just walking across it. And that was not the case at all. She was clearly walking to Christian Hospital from the very outset, which is what generated the call to us of concern.
Chief, how's your officer doing right now?
He is on administrative leave. He, as in customary practice, all officers that are involved in any shooting encounter are placed on administrative leave. He has met with our employee assistance counselors who have been in here yesterday and today, and to my knowledge, he's doing okay, as much as can be expected.
Is the commander who gave him permission still on the job, or is he on leave too?
No, he is on the job, and that was certainly within his capacity of authority to grant that permission. And for the record, I agree with what he did.
What convinced them that they could offer a courtesy ride?
I think then that the mind of the officer, in my limited conversation with him, he just did not want her to walk over there the 9.5 miles. For the record, she asked for a bottle of water from the officer, which he couldn't give her. And so I think 9.5 miles of walking in 100-degree heat when somebody's already asked for a bottle of water is a primary indicator that she needs some extra assistance.
Do you know if has she ever been into a mental hospital before?
I cannot get into that because of HIPAA issues. That is a confidential matter, as you probably are aware.
Chief, will this change any kind of policy that you guys have?
I hope it doesn't. We provide courtesy transportation to people for a lot of reasons, and we have, in my 30 years of law enforcement, we've never had a negative encounter on a courtesy transportation, and it's very unfortunate, but I don't want that to be the reason that we stop doing this, but they may end up being out of my control in the future. All right, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.